a great mood today. First, has anyone else seen Adam Driver's Burberry photo shoot? Quaking. Absolutely quaking. Even my friends who give me so much shit about my obsession with Adam Driver and always comment about how ugly they think he is and always give me shit for like being obsessed with this man. Even some of them are like, that shoot is where it's at. And I'm like, thank you, Adam, for blessing us with that. Let's wrap up July reading. I read 13 books this month. That is a little shorter for me. Normally I read about like 16, like anywhere from like 15 to 18 books a month. But I was really just trying to focus on not putting pressure on myself to read, especially over the summer here. Like I'm just out, I'm busier, I'm doing more things, even though now like the Delta variant is recluding me back into my apartment. Is that even a word? I don't even think so, but it's making me like go back into my shell. But really this month I just kind of wanted, whenever I felt like reading, I read. And when I didn't feel like reading, I didn't read. When I wanted to watch Survivor, for the 1000th time, I just rewatched old seasons of Survivor. So anyways, let's break down the 13 books that I've read this month. I read so many good ones and I can't wait to talk about them. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to touch on quick, but I'm not going to really go in depth because my video next week will be the vlog covering this book and 2 others of hers, and that is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. So all I'll say about this is that this follows Graham and Quinn, and this is a marriage in trouble, and it's told in the past and present timelines, all from Quinn's point of view, and you're getting to see them falling in love in the past and how their like love came to be, and then in the future now where they're in a not so great place. It's heartbreaking. I cried. It's so good, and it is now officially my second favorite Colleen Hoover book, right behind It Ends With Us. This was just incredible, and I can't wait to talk about this more in my video next week. This one I already touched on my favorite romances of 2021 so far video, so you can check that out where I talk about this one as well, but that is Lessons in Sin by Pam Godwin. I gave this one like 4.5 out of 5 stars, so it's not a full 5 for me. There are just certain things in here. Tinsley can come off a bit like that I'm not like other girls girl, which there were just certain parts where it just kind of like hit me wrong. And also there were certain moments in this where Tinsley was written in a way that her like language was written in a way that sounded very much like an adult trying to write a teenager. So there were just certain things that didn't quite hit with me, but overall this book is a steamy, forbidden, taboo time and everything that I love. So this one follows Father Magnus and Tinsley. So Tinsley gets sent away to all girls boarding school, like religious. Is it Catholic? Where there she runs into Father Magnus, who is a reformed billionaire turned pastor. He was like a big playboy back in his day, but he's been a I don't know, is it a pastor? Father? Oh, it is Catholic. Okay, sorry, I'm not Catholic, so I'm not like good with this. Anyways, he's the Father Magnus. And so, but he's never been tempted like Tinsley is tempting him now. And there is something that happened in his past that made him turn into a priest, and it's not like he's not in it solely for the religious aspect of it, which I think is why it makes it believable that he is tempted away from the faith towards Tinsley. But is a student teacher, one of my all-time favorite tropes, ride or die trope for me. This hit, I loved it. It was kind of a little bit like Priest by Sierra Simone-ish, because like we're dealing with the religion, but it wasn't as deep into the religion as that book did go. But I really loved this. This was a great time. It was a hot time. It was a fun time. Now onto all of the like books that I read on my Kindle, either that I read in Kindle Unlimited, or I think I only one of these or like 2 of these that I had bought on my Kindle as ebooks. So the next 2 that I'm going to talk about are Rhody and Moxie by C.M. Stunich. I think I'm saying that right. So this is a continuation in the Rock Hard Beautiful series. These are books 2 and 3. In all honesty, they kind of blend together for me now looking back on it. So I gave the second one, Rhody, 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked this continuation a lot, and I really liked this book. We definitely dive in a lot more to the band members. So it is a reverse harem following Lilith, who goes on tour with, is it Beauty and Lies, I think is the band's name. I also just talked about this series in my Rockstar Romance recommendation video. And she starts on tour with them in this book, and they kind of like take her under their wing a bit, and she starts a relationship with, at the beginning, 4 of them, and then by the end of that book, all 5 of them. So that's a fun time. There are lots of group activities in this, which in my reverse harems I want and I feel like we deserve. And then in the third one is called Moxie. This one I gave 3 out of 5. This one kind of dragged for me. I almost felt like this and Rhody could have been combined into one book, so then it would have just been like a duet, and I think that it would have been fine that way. I still enjoyed it. I still had a fun time. It's just I felt like there wasn't enough plot going on. It is a very character-driven story, which I love and appreciate, and that's what I really liked in the first 2 books, but I just felt like by the 3rd book here, it was a little unnecessary. I thought we had already gotten a lot of growth in almost all of the characters, and I think that if the 2nd book would have just been extended to include parts of this one, I think it could have wrapped it up really nicely. But overall for the series, I enjoyed the hell out of the series as a whole, and I truly loved it. I just really love that all 6 of these characters are very like broken, sad, tortured characters. I love a character going through some trauma. And this book definitely delivered for all 6 of them. And especially my favorites, Ransom and Paxton. I really loved seeing their friendship kind of heal over the course of this book. So that was really great. Now I had like 4 favorite reads of the month. One of them being All Your Perfects. And then 2 of them being these, which I think reign supreme. Like, these reign supreme over the entire month for me. I am truly and wholeheartedly obsessed. And that is Twisted Love and Twisted Games by Anna Huang. So the first one is Twisted Love, and this one is a brother's best friend, grumpy sunshine, billionaire kind of trope. Oh my god, Alex Volkov, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Alex lives in my head rent-free. I love a cold, icy, slightly sociopathic, possessive, obsessed man, and he is all of that and more. And I just love it. I've talked about this before in other videos. There is something about the cold rage in a man that I love. Like, I think the perfect example of it is like in the ACOTAR series by Sarah J Maas with Cassian. Like, everyone loves Cassian. I love Cassian too, but he has that more of like a fiery temper, and while I like that and that's cool, there is just something about, even though we've gotten like very little of Azriel so far, there is something about that like icy rage, or like Rowan and Throne of Glass and Kingdom of Ash. If you've read it, you know, and like his rage in that moment, I just love the cold rage. Alex totally embodies that, and I just love it. So this one follows Ava, who is a college student, and her brother is going overseas for a year, and he asks his best friend Alex to move into his house, and he lives next door to Ava, and kind of watch over her and just kind of keep a protective eye on her. Once Alex moves in, Ava starts this Operation like emotion thing and tries to get him to feel some emotion, which I really liked too. I just thought that it was really cute. I really liked Ava's character for being like a sunshine trope. Normally, I feel like sometimes the heroines for me in that can fall kind of flat. She had depth, you know, she wasn't sunshine just for the sake of being sunshine. She almost like had to choose to be that way, because this is the thing about these books. There is spice and romance, but there's plot. And so as we're unraveling Ava's past, you see that she has things in her past that have shaped her, but that it's almost like then she's a sunshiny personality, because like, why dwell on the bad things? And that's something that like I feel like I need to be better about, and that I really like to see in Ava and this character. There's a lot of plot in this one that I feel like I can't really spoil. I'm not gonna say anything more because I feel like I'm getting close to, saying something that I shouldn't. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But Alex is my motherfucking main man now. I feel like I found a new book boyfriend since Remo. Remo's kind of been my last one, and he was a couple months ago. And I mean, I'm still obsessed with you, Remo, but Alex, hey. So there's a scene in here with the phone call that I'm just like, oh my god. Oh my god. Spice Hall of Fame. Anyway, I should do a Spice Hall of Fame video because I feel like I say that a lot of being like, this scene is in the Spice Hall of Fame. I feel like I should do that. No one would care, but it would just be kind of interesting to put that together. Actually, no, that would be calling myself out too much. Never mind. Wow. Twisted Games by Anna Huang. So this is book 2 in the series. So we are introduced to Bridget and Reese in the first book. I will say too, also the friendship dynamic between this like girl gang that I think the series is going to be following is just great. I love a good group of girlfriends in a book. So Ava and Bridget are really good friends. And then I believe Twisted Hate, which is the 3rd book, I think that one's going to be about Jules, which is another best friend, and then Ava's brother. I love it. And then the 4th book, what is her name? I'm totally blanking on her name right now. We haven't seen too much of her, but she's like the social media star. But I think that's gonna be, the 4th book is gonna be her book. But anyways, this one is Reese and Bridget. So Bridget is royalty from Eldora, and she is the princess, but her brother is the next in line to the throne. So both of their parents are dead. So it's their grandfather is on the throne right now, and then her brother Nikolai is the crown prince. So he's the one who's going to be taking the title next. So Ava's like the spare heir. Do not bite my feet, bro. Ow, someone is wild and biting mom's feet. Yeah, bite your sister instead. Yeah, you get it, Mario. She's the spare, and she's over in America living her life, having a fun time. And her bodyguard, Reese, he is this massive, stone cold, like, big brutish dude who's just like brooding and he's like, I just protect my clients, and he's very like overbearing, which I mean, he's a bodyguard, he has to keep her safe, but they immediately clash right from the get-go. And so it is a bit of like an enemies to lovers in that sense as well, until they really start to kind of like get into a groove and get to know each other. So the first part of the book is taking place in America when they're just kind of like getting to know each other, and then something, you already know this reading Twisted Love, but then Nikolai abdicates the throne, so Bridget has to go back to Eldora to become queen. So Reese goes with her. Anyways, again, I don't want to get too spoilery into plot because there is like quite a bit of plot in these, but I will just say, so it's like the bodyguard, royalty, forbidden romance trope, and I just love it. This was the first bodyguard romance that I ever read, and I feel like this has set the standards too high. Like, this was just incredible. It was amazing. I loved it. It's very like Princess Diaries too, but like rated X. Honestly, I love Reese as well. Like, don't get me wrong, when I'm like raving about Alex and I'm not as much raving about Reese, I still loved Reese. I thought him and Bridget were both such strong characters that neither like outshined the other, and their connection was so believable. It was really slow burn, like just the romance between them. I totally bought into them as a duo and as a couple, and really bought their connection on more than just like a physical attraction. Like, it went much deeper than that, which I really like. Everything in this book was just perfection. I literally have no complaints between either of these books, and literally, if you haven't read them yet, if you read anything out of this video, go read these two books. Like, they are so good. They're gonna be my next paintings on TikTok. However, I want to have the paperbacks for them, but I just haven't bought them yet because I'm trying to be on like a book buying ban for a while, and I've lasted for a long time. I have not bought books in a while, but I think I'm gonna have to break it for these because they're just so good and I need them in my life every single day. They will be in my top 10 of 2021 list. Like, you already know, these are just everything. After that little ramble, let's get into one of my other favorites of the month because I'm on a roll here with the favorites. Sweetest, Oblivion by Danielle Laurie. This is the first book in the Maid series. So fucking good. My God, I loved this. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. Now, granted, when I say that, I'm like, I can't wait to read the rest of the series, and I haven't picked them up yet, even though I read this like 2 weeks ago. Here's the thing, again, I have to be in the mood for mafia, and right now I'm not in the mood for a mafia book right now, but when I am, I'm circling back to these. This one follows Nico and Alina. Oh, by the way, I gave this 4.5 stars out of 5 because the beginning was a little slow and it took me until about like 30% to be like really into the story. So that's the only reason that it's 4.5 stars and not a full 5, just because the beginning was really slow for me. Like, I was not into it or like obsessed with it until about 30%. But once I was, boy was I in. So this one follows Elena and Nico. Elena is the oldest sister in her family, which in like the mafia world, then she would be the one to be married out first. However, she has a bit of a scandal behind her. She did run away and sleep with another man. So now she's like not marriage material in a lot of people's eyes in the mafia. Whatever, it's disgusting, but it's like how this world works. Okay, just stick with me here. So her younger sister then is agreed to be married off to Nico, who is this mafia boss in the city as well, and her dad is like a high-ranking mafia boss too, but their families like do not get along. Like, they don't really vibe with each other. There's literally like a killing at almost every single family event between them, or like some big blowout fight, which makes for entertainment, if I'm being honest. So Alina's younger sister and Nico are engaged to be married, but Alina and Nico just can't stop themselves from like running into each other, bantering with each other, having this attraction to each other, and they both don't want it. They both really try to fight it, but you know how it goes. They can't stay away from each other. Nico is my ideal mafia man because he is a simp and a killer. And that's all I really want in a mafia man, if I'm being honest. I want someone who is like a touch her and you'll die kind of man and isn't afraid to get his hands dirty. So, and like a little slightly sociopathic. And there is a great scene at a gas station featuring this. Again, we're talking about the cold rage. That's Nico. And he's also a simp. He loves Elena. Like, he becomes obsessed with her. And that's literally all I want in a mafia man. So anyways, this was great. I can't wait to read the next book in this. It set up the next 2 characters already, and I think it's gonna be really good. And oh my god, I love this. This is my favorite mafia book I've read since the Camorra Chronicles, and just go read it. Okay, next is a novella, and that is Forbidden Fling by Kat Taylor. I already talked about this in my boyfriend's dad's recommendation video, but I'll talk about it here again quick. So I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Now, that sounds bad, but for novellas, I don't ever rate novellas higher than 3 stars. I just am not the biggest fan of novellas to begin with. So 3 out of 5 stars is the highest ranking that I ever give a novella. So when I give one 3 out of 5, that means like I really enjoyed it, but I'm not gonna rate it the same as I rate like a 600-page book. That's just on me. That's my own personal rating system. So I did give this one 3 out of 5, but I have no qualms with it. It was short, sweet, to the point. This girl goes on vacation with her boyfriend after they graduate college, before they're getting ready to move to different cities, just kind of as like a last hurrah. And he ends up inviting his frat brothers and his dad along with, and she's kind of like, what the hell? And their spark has just been getting lost for a while. And so while she's there, she starts connecting with Mr. Jones, and they just full-blown cheat on the son. So if you don't like cheating, this entire book is cheating. So this is Katie Roberts' pen name, and I'm pretty sure the whole like idea of these books or these like little tales that she's coming out with are like lots of happy endings, but no happily ever afters. So like it doesn't end tied up in a nice bow like a traditional romance book, but there are a lot of happy endings in this. And the other Katie Robert book that I read this month is Your Dad Will Do. And again, I talked about this one in that same video, the boyfriend's dad's recommendation video. And so again, I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars as well. I would give it like 3.5 because it's like a longer novella, and like I did really like it. So this one follows Lily and Shane. So Lily discovers that her ex-fiance, or so her fiance but now ex-fiance when this starts, has cheated on her and has been cheating on her. She starts out at the beginning of this going over to her ex-fiance's dad's house with the sole intention of seducing him. Like this is her mind. She's like, I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna fuck Shane. And guess what? She does. She spends the whole weekend over there. They have a great weekend together, and then they're like, we shouldn't end this. And during the course of the weekend there, they realize like, oh, do we kind of like love each other? And the forbiddenness, the tabooness, it just hits. The spice in this is incredible. It's so well written. And even though it's frequent, because it's a novella, so it's fairly short, but there's a lot of spice jam-packed in it. But every single scene is like different and never feels repetitive, which is problems that I've had with other just like really spicy books, is it just feels like we're reading the same thing over and over. Not this one. Okay, now kind of on to a bit of a disappointing read for the month, and that is Throttled by Lauren Asher. So I was really excited to start this series because it revolves around Formula One racing, which I've grown up watching. My parents met when they were working with IndyCar racing. Everyone in my family is just like involved in racing somehow or is a fan of racing, and every Sunday, like pretty much when I was living at home, I would wake up during Formula One season and the races were on the TV. Like that's just how it is in my family. And so I was really looking forward to reading a book featuring that. And I was just kind of let down. I have heard that the other books get better, so I definitely think I will keep going with the series. However, this one was just a little disappointing for me because I think I had such high expectations. So I gave this first one 3.5 stars out of 5. This one follows Maya and Noah, and Maya just recently graduated from college, and she's just kind of figuring out what she wants to do with her life. So she decides to follow her brother, Santi, who is a Formula One driver. She decides to follow him on his racing circuit and kind of vlog the experience. And when she gets there, he is on the same team as his rival, Noah, the bad boy kind of a Formula One racing, which I mean, you kind of had me suckered in there. So Noah and Santi are rivals, so it's not like a brother's best friend, but there's like that element then once they start their relationship together that they're like, we can't tell Santi, because kind of for the opposite reason of the brother's best friend trope where they're like, we don't want to hurt him. I mean, they still don't want to hurt him, but they also are like, this is gonna be bad. I thought the pacing in this just seemed a little off for me. I never fell into a rhythm with it. I did believe Maya and Noah's connection, that's for sure, but it was just a little like underwhelming. There were a lot of plot points that happened that I felt could have been like way more ramped up and been way more dramatic than they were. For example, this isn't really spoiling anything, but Noah does have a crash in one of the races, which is like not necessarily uncommon, and it's not dramatic like really at all. And I like, if I'm seeing this scene like in my head, I'm like, oh shit, like this could be like really amped up, like really dramatic, this could be a big reveal, and it was just kind of not. Same with the ending and like the resolution. I don't know, it was good, it was just kind of forgettable. It was still a fun time. I think maybe if I would have gone into this with lower expectations, I would have liked it a little more, but I think because I had such high expectations and had heard such great things, I was just a little let down. But I would still definitely recommend this book, and I do want to continue on with the series, but I'm not, I would say, like in any rush per se to keep going at the moment. Like I'll get around to them, but they're not like high up on my priority list. Okay, next I read yet another novella, My Best Friend's Sister by QB Tyler. I am working my way through like QB Tyler's backlog. And so this was one of her first stories, I want to say, and it is a novella as well. I think it's only around like 107 pages. I know that sounds oddly specific, but I feel like that's what it is. This one follows Jackson and Ava. So Ava moves to New York City where her brother's best friend and also like her childhood friend is living, Jackson, and he has his own company there, like he's rich, whatever, fun times. Isn't every guy like rich in these books? So his best friend asks him to kind of watch out for Ava, and he's like kind of annoyed. So one night she calls him for a ride, they meet up, and then they start kind of talking again, and then they're out one night and they're drinking, and Ava says like, can you help me out with a favor? And Jackson's like, sure, what do you need? And she's like, can you have sex with me? And Jackson's like, what? And because she is talking to this guy in her class and she kind of likes him, but she doesn't want to be a virgin when she hooks up with him for the first time. So she's like, Jackson, could you do this for me? And he is like, yeah, no, he's so attracted to her, but he doesn't want to ruin his relationship with her brother. And it kind of goes from there. I think you kind of know how most of these go. This was really good. Again, I gave it 3 out of 5 because like it was a novella, but I really enjoyed it. I definitely think that you can tell that QB Tyler's writing has really grown in her other books, like from this one. I did really like it, but I also even just think like the sex scenes in this one versus like Love Unexpected in like first semester elevated from this, but it was still enjoyable, a fun quick read, and a good time. Okay, down to last 2, Tears of Tess by Pepper Winters. I feel kind of torn. I gave it 3 out of 5. Okay, so let me rewind. So Tess goes on this vacation with her boyfriend Braxton. Are they in Mexico maybe? They go on this vacation, she's trying to like re-get that spark back, but it's just not really happening, and they go on this bike ride where they stop to get a drink at this like really creepy dive diner, which I'm like, Braxton, think a little bit with your brain, because Tess was like, this feels uncomfortable, we should leave. Men, listen to women's instincts. When we say that something does not feel right, or that we feel unsafe, or that we are in like a creepy, unsettling place, listen to us, because I feel like women just have heightened instincts of that, because we have literally had to deal with that since we were children, that our instincts are normally correct. So Braxton, you should have listened to Tess. But anyways, he doesn't. And what do you know? He gets attacked when he goes to the bathroom, and Tess is taken and sold into sex slavery. So the beginning of this book, it gets going pretty quickly. So I did really like it, and I was really invested in this book and in Tess's journey from like being taken to them being delivered to Q. And so I should just say, so obviously it's a dark romance, so just be notable of that going in. Tess arrives at Q's mansion. Immediately he realizes like, oh, she's different. She is given to him as a business deal. He didn't buy her, and you do eventually find out why, like, he doesn't buy women. Here was my thing with this book that I didn't love. So Tess tries to make a run for it, which I loved. I'm like, try to escape, because she still doesn't know the full extent of her circumstances, and she's still thinking like, I want to get back home. I want to go home. Like, this is not my life. I don't want to accept this. And so she tries to go. It's just an event that happens that is so brutal and hard to read, but obviously it's a dark romance, so I knew that going in. But here's the thing, that immediately after that happens, it's like a light switch goes off in her head and she's like, "Cue's my master." And I didn't fully believe that, like, that total flip-flop from being like, I'm literally trying to escape from this man, to then being like, he is my everything. It didn't work for me. And then like the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of like that night, again, just didn't sit quite right with me. And I don't know, overall, I just didn't totally buy into their romance. I didn't really like that we were just always stuck in Cue's house. Besides like the beginning of her being taken and her brief runaway, we were always in Cue's house, and it got a little boring for me. I needed like a little change up in setting, but I still did overall enjoy this book, and I still did like it, but I don't think it's anything that I would ever go back and reread. And it did wrap up nicely. There are 2 more books, and actually I am kind of interested in the next one because it sounds like it's a bit of like a revenge thing. Like now they're like, we're gonna go after the slavers, and I'm like, can we please? Like, I want to read about that. I don't want to read about like her spending time in his mansion. I don't know if I'll continue on with the series. I don't know if I care enough to keep going, but I do see the like seeds planted of like a really great love story between the 2 of them. It's just, I don't know if I'm invested enough to read it. And last book is Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lawrence. This is the first book in, it's their series. It's like their Beautiful series or something. I think they're all like Beautiful something. This was my first Christina Lauren book, and while I didn't not like it, I also didn't love it. I'm like fairly neutral on this book. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It follows Chloe and Bennett, and Chloe is Bennett's secretary, so it is like an office place romance, which I do love. I love a good like office romance. I think because it like the forced proximity, and then like they're always trying to like hide it. I don't know. It just kind of works in like the forbiddenness world for me. If it's like not a forbidden love, I don't want it. So Bennett is Chloe's boss, but they don't really get along that well. They kind of like do everything that they can to push each other's buttons, until eventually just one day he literally bends her over a conference table. And I'm like, this was a fast change of pace. This again was one where I just didn't really like buy into their romance. I didn't really care about either character at all, to be honest. I didn't really like care that they ended up together. I didn't really care that they were happy. It was like a fun read. It was a pretty mindless read. I don't even really remember, honestly, all that much that happened, because it was just kind of like, this was fine. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything memorable. And I think when I look back at the end of the year, like, this would be a book that I would forgot that I even read. So, I don't know. Kind of fine, kind of neutral, but good enough. Like, fine enough for the one read, but also not enough for me to, like, care to ever go back and revisit by any means. Okay, I think that's everything that I read. Even though that was less books, I feel like this is gonna still be a long video because I suck at keeping things concise. So that's it. As I said, next week I'll have my Colleen Hoover vlog up, and that'll be a fun time. I don't really know other plans after that point, so we'll just kind of see what happens when it happens, and I will see you when I see you.